What's up, guys? Graylan Stewart here with another Work Wednesday. Today I am onboarding a new employee. This is technically my operation manager's job, but she is out with pneumonia. So I'm the man today. Anyways, I'm just going to let this roll kind of as I'm working because I got to get on a Zoom with this dude right now. So, yeah, I'm getting the documents prepared because we've got 5 documents that people have to sign, which multiple pages per documents when they get on board. So we're just going to go through that together, but I got to start this meeting. Hopefully I'll be on soon, but in the meantime, I got to keep on moving this a little bit. Waiting. What's up, Will? Can you hear me?
Yes, Graham. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no problem. Do you have a video?
No, I don't have a video cam.
Oh, you don't? All right. Well, let's see. I'm turning mine off too then, so we can be on the same playing field. How about that?
Right.
All right. So there's these documents that I'm going to send you. I'm still preparing it to send it via DocuSign.
Okay.
But yeah, as I said, Bridget's out with pneumonia. We knew she was getting sick, but I guess it's worse than we thought. She went
So I
to.
hope she gets well soon. I even sent her an email wishing her soon recovery.
Oh, nice. Yeah. She was working through it, but I guess it was worse. She went to the emergency room like early in the morning. So, anyways, yeah, we'll move forward. But I'm preparing this document to send. So there's actually 5 different documents in this DocuSign. It's really just everything. You know what I mean? And once I send it, you can look through it all as you initial and sign and all that stuff. But basically, it's going to give you a checklist of all the duties. It's confidentiality, technology stuff, workplace, all that kind of stuff. But most of it, the first document is really just the duties and kind of the benefits of working with us. And then the second document, let me scroll down here for a second. I guess I could just share my screen, huh? That would be helpful probably. Yeah, I'll just do that. Let me move this down here, and that'll make more sense as I go through this. Alrighty. So you can see this now, right? This DocuSign in here?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, this first one, I'll scroll back up so you can kind of see it. Of course, you can go through all this once I email it. It's just the employee duties and obligations, basically, right?
All right.
This is our company. This is our parent company name, but doing business as this, right? And then I'm just adding all the signature spots, but I'll scroll through and kind of show you what the different ones are. It's pretty basic stuff. Every employee signs all this stuff. But yeah, we're excited to have you on board. Hoping everything can go well for you and for us during this process, obviously. So just adding these signatures and stuff as we're talking through this.
Okay. I'm really excited too because at least now I have enough space to do the best that I could really do. Because working with other investors, I'll be multitasking. As I told Bridget yesterday, I used to run the dialer, send out text via call rail, do the follow-ups I already have, schedule appointments, filter the results on REI prospect all at the same time.
Wow.
Yes.
You're like a one-man show almost, it seems like.
Well, and on top of that, I was handling 7 campaigns. So I never complained about working hard and all that. But I just wanted some appreciation in return, which I never got eventually.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you'll see that, in our company, we segment all the different positions so that you can get good at one thing and focus on the one thing. It just makes it easier for everyone, to master that one thing, in your case, acquisitions, right?
yes.
So we found that that's a lot easier. And then this is the position, agreement. And we can go through this in a little bit, but I'm just putting all these signatures on here for now, initials or whatever. But it's all pretty basic stuff. It's just we have everyone sign this so everybody's on the same page, you know what I mean?
All right. I've read the documents Bridget sent me yesterday, and actually I was really happy reading it because I pretty much do it the same way you guys do it.
Yeah, nice.
Yes.
That's good. And some things, probably are a little bit different because over time, we're always improving the CRM and just improving our systems and processes and things like that. But
I meant the work ethics.
oh, okay.
And the strategy of how to handle a call.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Yes.
I didn't know for sure what she sent you exactly. Well, that's good. Oh, we don't need the date there. Sorry, I'm trying to talk to you and concentrate on doing this at the same time.
It's all right. It's all right.
So how long do you have today?
Well, I'm joining you guys full time.
You ready to get started?
Yes.
Cool. I'm gonna put today's date here. Yeah, a lot of times we'll just go ahead and send this out, but sometimes we just do it live so that if you have any questions, we're here to answer. But after we get through all of this, we'll start you on our SOPs. That way you can kind of get familiar with everything and how we do it and our system and everything else. Let's see here. Oops, this is the wrong. It's a process with all these things. Where's the delete button? There we go. But do you have any?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, please.
No, I was just going to say, do you have any questions or anything while I'm getting through all this?
No, as far as for the contract, no, I don't have any question. I'm satisfied, and I'll just put it this way: I trust you guys. That's all.
That's good. That's got to go both ways, so I'm glad to hear that.
So I just wanted to ask if I'm going to be using DocuSign for sending out contracts.
So you will use DocuSign, but our DocuSign is much more simple. You don't have to go through all this stuff that I'm doing, because this is manual because we don't onboard often, right? But we send contracts almost every day, right? So we have DocuSign built into our Podio system. It's just a click of a button.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And once you send a contract out and confirmed that it's been signed, then your job as acquisition manager is done. You just move on to the next ones and try to get more. Because then at that point we have our transaction coordinator that will go through, her whole process of dealing with the paperwork and the title companies and all that. Then we have our disposition manager that obviously markets the property to sell it and that kind of thing. And then you're just sitting back and waiting for it to close, and then you get your bonus or whatever, And in the meantime, you're just dealing with more acquisitions, following up with your leads, and trying to get more contracts. So that's why you can just focus on that one thing. It makes it a lot easier.
Yes.
Yeah, let's switch this name again here. It's a lot of little blanks to put in.
And Graylan, if you don't mind me asking, I just wanted to know. I know that a wholesale price would be favorable to you guys, but how flexible are you when it comes to asking or selling prices? Like, I need to know the criteria, the exact criteria. What are we buying exactly? And the price range. Like, what would be the maximum amount of?
Yeah, that varies on each property, to be honest.
Okay.
But all that is covered in the SOPs, though. So you'll learn exactly what we do, how we do it. But you know how to comp properties already, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so, we don't even bother doing that initially when we first are talking to, a prospect or a seller. We're not really, initially we're just gathering information, right? Trying to even see if they really have interest, gaining their motivation. The 4 pillars, right? We're trying to get motivation, the condition of the property, hopefully get a price out of them, and also the timeline in which they want to sell.
Okay.
So once we get those things, then we know that they're more motivated, right? But until we get those things, we don't really bother with comping the property because we don't want to waste a lot of time on leads that aren't interested. So once we get those things, then we know they're interested. That's when we move on to actually comping the property. But in the meantime, we do have a formula already built into Podio that gives you an offer range.
Okay.
So that way, if they give you a price, let's say the ARV is $100,000, and they give you a price of $95,000 that they want, then that's not going to work for us. But at the same time, as you unfold their motivation and their timeline is soon, meaning they got to sell quickly for whatever reason, then 95 is just maybe a number that they're just throwing out there, hoping for the best, right? And probably knowing that they won't get that. But
okay, I get the picture. Okay.
Yeah, but that offer range gives you an idea if we're even in the same ballpark. So if they say 95 and our offer range is 50 to 60, for example, then you know that they're way off, and we got to do some work to get them into our range. Once they're within our ballpark, then that's when you can do the actual comps and things like that.
So basically, we're looking at 65% after deducting the closing fees and the repairs.
So the way we do initially, and this is different depending on where we're at, because we are nationwide, we focus on Oklahoma City, but we do deals everywhere. But for the most part, we do 75% of ARV, right? Minus the repairs, minus our fee. And we always want to factor in like a minimum of $10,000. But honestly, our average last year was $20,000. Our average so far this year is about 17 or so. But we just say, put in $10,000 as a worst case scenario. And that would be your max offer, right? Obviously, we want to get it lower than that. But so to answer your question, it's 75% minus repairs minus $10,000 is the max we can pay.
Okay.
Which typically comes into around probably, in that ballpark, 60, 65. Depends on the repairs, you know what I mean? So. Try to get through.
And if the property is in move-in condition and it needs no repairs at all, Is there a range? Let's say if the ARV is 100,000 and they were asking 75 or 80, will that do?
Potentially, it depends on the property and where it's at. Because some areas there might be hedge funds buying in those areas, so we can pay a little bit more potentially, and then some maybe not. And also, when you say move-in ready, that's typically never true. You know what I mean? I've never seen a house move-in ready. I've built my own personal house. I've built a house 4 times, and even those, yeah, they were move-in ready, but even those had repairs right away. You know what I mean? So we always say, even the ones that say they're move-in ready, we typically still account for like a minimum of $5 grand, $5 to $10 grand. I think this is what Bridget sent you, the acquisition specialist training manual, probably.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you probably already saw this. I'm just putting. Oops, I got the wrong one again. I got to switch back. Just putting all the initials and stuff on all this stuff. But yeah, this is what you saw. So yeah, there's our core values. Obviously, you saw that already. And then kind of that org chart. And there's actually, it's a little different now, but she actually sent you a separate org chart, didn't she?
Yeah, she sent me she sent me this one, the exact one I'm looking at right now.
Okay.
And yes, and I went through it all.
There's another one too. I guess she didn't send that one.
No, there was another one in introduction.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, you'll report to Bridget. She'll do most of the training and things like that. Obviously, while she's out, I'm stepping in. But for the most part, most of your communication is with her and the other acquisition managers. So we have a Slack channel, that we try to use to communicate with each other. So there's the acquisition one, so that all of you can be on there together in case you're.
Yes, I'm familiar with Slack.
Okay. Cool. But yeah, we try to all work together. If you have issues and you're having trouble with a lead, you can ask, someone to help you with it, and vice versa. Some people mesh with different personalities and things like that. So we all just try to work together to help each other.
Well, to be honest, the only time I've used Slack is when it was an emergency, like I needed a quick response about a lead that is unclear to me.
Yeah.
And that was the only reason I used Slack. Other than that, I was able to handle everything.
Nice. So this is all ready. So I'm sending it to you right now. You can just kind of look through that stuff and sign it. In the meantime, I was gonna say, you're talking about like if you have questions on leads and things like that. So all of that stuff is in our SOPs. Our system is pretty sophisticated. I'll pull it up right now to kind of show you. But everything you need is in our system. So anything going on with a lead, document. We need to take notes like crazy, right? We just want to have everything documenting. So I kind of have a saying, Podio or it didn't happen. Meaning, if it's not in Podio and you're telling me these things, I don't necessarily think it happened if it's not documented. Does that make sense?
Understood. Yes.
So this is our activity page. It just kind of gives an overview, who's logged in or not or whatever. So I'll invite you to this later once you get all the docs signed. But it shows you the leads, current leads for the week, for the month. It's just got a bunch of details that you can scroll down and look. But the main thing you want to pay attention to on this page is like tasks, like overdue tasks and important tasks for the day. Because obviously we definitely want to use tasks for everything that we do so that you know what's happening with your leads and things like that, right? So then we have the Seller Leads app. We've got a review app. That's what I was talking about. Like if you had a question on a particular lead, we have a review app. You can just click the review button and that goes to, the review app, but it notifies me and Bridget. So whoever's available to kind of look that over. So let me just show you a lead, for example. Like here is one right here. Have you used Podio before?
Just for messaging, to be honest.
Okay, so Podio, let me just go back. So Seller Leads is our main app that acquisition managers use, right? Now we've got different queues over here, as you can see. We've got our valid, interested, and our new leads. So this is our hot leads queue, basically, right? So when you click on that, that's what shows over here. Okay, 73 leads out of the 5,000 or whatever something. And then we've got our new pass-off leads. So these are leads from our follow-up specialist that they pass them off to acquisitions, meaning these are older leads that they reignite and that become interested again. So they pass them off to acquisitions to close them. Okay. And then we have our uncontacted leads. So you always want to pay attention to this as well, because this is basically leads that are assigned to specific reps, specific people that have replied to you via text or phone call, right? So you always want to pay attention to that to make sure that you're always at 0 is the goal. So at the end of every day, obviously, they need to be at 0. And sometimes people call or text after hours, so that's why there's usually numbers, right? And then we've got our short-term leads. These are just leads that aren't necessarily hot, but you're still working them pretty hard. But you're just nurturing the leads, right? They might close in, who knows, a couple of months or a few months. But the hot leads are kind of our goal is it's going to be a deal within the next 30 to 45 days or so. Otherwise, we just kind of nurture it, right? And then aside from that, there's our long-term nurture, which is what our follow-up specialist is accounted. That's what their job is, to follow up with those. So if a lead says, yeah, I'm not really ready for 6 months, or they say I'm not interested, we don't ever get rid of that lead. We just put it into long-term nurture if it's going to be a while or they're not interested, right? Because somehow they got into our system, because we only have qualified leads that come into our system in most cases, right? But you can see this hot leads queue, just an overview. This is what it all looks like. It tells you the seller name, the acquisition manager, the lead status, the lead source. So Facebook paid, radio, cold calling, SEO, TV. So you can kind of see the different lead sources. And then the last manual update means the last time it was worked. So these are just all new, brand new, pretty much new leads over here. And then it's got your notes over here. So if you're ever just looking at your own leads, you can hover over it and it'll show all the notes. But you can also set up views. This is what we definitely recommend. You can have private views. So let's just say in this hot queue, you wanted to find your own leads and just to see yours only, or if you wanted to see all of your leads, you could do that by setting up views with filters and options, which in the SOPs, this has gone over in there too. So you'll be able to figure that out. I won't go through that now, but back to just a lead again. Obviously, it's got their basic information. If it doesn't come across with a name, obviously, when you get their name, just put it here. We'll delete that and put their actual name. For now, I'll just put a note on that one because we don't know. But then the seller email. Now we can call directly from Podio. Okay, so I'll send you an email to actually give you directions, instructions on how to get this Chrome extension for smartphone. As you can see, it's up here. And once you're logged into that, you can choose what phone number to use. Like right now, it's on the regular acquisition phone number. You'll have your own assigned number, but all calls will come in through that acquisition number. But you can reply, normal with a phone call through the acquisition, or you can call from your own personal, cell phone acquisitions. It all comes in the same spot is the point. And you can literally just click to call it. It'll call that customer, right? You can also click to send a text, and it'll pull up a text message you can send. Or there's a way you can text over here by doing all caps SMS : and then you can just type, and that will send a text as well to the client or the seller. Does that make sense? And
Yes.
Don't get overwhelmed. I'm just giving you an overview because all this is specifically gone over in the SOPs, so that'll help you out. Cool.
Okay. about the phone number, which is basically a DID number. I don't think I'll be needing one personally, so I can just use the acquisition number to receive calls as well, to get inbound calls.
Yeah, but we'll also give you your own phone number too, because some people, like most of the reps, they'll use their own number through acquisitions after they're talking for a little while, or it's a number you can give to the seller, like, hey, this is my personal line, you can call me back on, so that way when they call back, it's only ringing to you.
Understood.
When the acquisition number rings to everybody.
I see. Okay. So does it have to be on my cell phone, or it can be on
No,
the system?
all through the phone, all through the computer.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
So this shows you your lead status and call status. Obviously, our goal is to make everything contacted, and we consider a lead contacted if they call, or if you attempt a call or text, not necessarily spoke to someone, but you attempted the call or text, then we consider that as contacted. Okay. And then lead statuses. So we've got valid, interested, do not call, closed, lost, dead, short-term nurture, long-term nurture, cow, and deal. Okay. So valid is kind of a holding place for us. That means the lead came in. We don't really know if they're interested yet, or if we need to nurture it, or maybe they're calling just to cuss us out. If they're calling to cuss us out or threaten to sue us or something, obviously we're clicking do not call. That's the only time we use that. If they're threatening us, or really rude, not even just rude, but irate, right? So we very rarely use the do not call. That's the only situations. If they're threatening to sue us, or they say don't ever call me again, or I'm going to call the cops or my attorney or whatever, okay? But typically we're using valid, interested, short-term nurture, long-term nurture. Those are the main four holding places. But valid, again, is temporary. We want to move it out of that as soon as possible. It's usually only in that because we haven't really gotten a hold of the seller. But once we get a hold of them, we'll know if they're motivated or not, if we need to nurture it, or if it's going to be an interested lead right now, In the rare case that we close it out, if you do click on close, lost, dead, there's got to be a reason for it. So these are the reasons. It's a duplicate lead, or it's just the wrong phone number. They don't own any properties maybe. Like, for example, if we sent them an RVM. Do you know what RVMs are?
RVM, I'm familiar with it. I just forgot what it is.
No, it's fine. It's the ringless voicemail. So that's sometimes we send those out and it just bypasses the ringer and drops on their voicemail. So every once in a while, we actually have two options for them. They can press 1 to be connected to a live agent, or they can press 2 to be removed from our list. Sometimes they press 1 just to cuss us out, or they might press 1 and say, I don't even own a property. So that's when you would say closed, lost, dead, and doesn't own any properties, right? But another reason is sold to another investor, cannot legally sell. Maybe they're trying to sell it, but they don't even own the house. That happens a lot. Not a lot, but it happens. Maybe they already sold it through a realtor, so our information might have been older, or maybe it's a situation where we're not interested, or it's too far away from a major metro, because we do have a system that we use, call it Investor Lift, to where we can look up these properties. Like some of these little small towns, we can get smoking deals on, but if we can't sell it, what good is it? It's just wasting our time, right? Same example, if we have a $100,000 ARV and somebody's willing to sell the house for $20,000, but there's not even a buyer within 15 miles, it's kind of pointless. What's the point of getting that property if we can't sell it? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
I'm familiar with Lyft. I sold a couple of properties in Chattanooga.
okay.
And actually another portfolio, I forgot where, in somewhere in Texas. Through Investor Lift, I reached out to other investors in those areas.
Nice. Yeah, and our Investor Lift is even more sophisticated because we're actually on the cartel level, which is the highest level, and they only allow the top investors in the United States to be on that level. So ours is even more robust than the one that you've probably used. So,
Okay.
That's cool that you're familiar with it though. But we always check investor lift just to make sure that there's even a buyer in the area. Obviously, if it's in the major metros where we always buy, there is. We don't have to look. But, those small towns is where we do that. But another closed lost dead reason is they're not a seller. It's just a test, or maybe it's spam, or they're trolling us, or whatever the case, right? It's a dead lead either way. And then there's the people that it's just cash buyers that somehow get into our acquisition space. They sometimes cash buyers call us from our TV ads, or from our radio ads, or from our direct mail. You know what I mean? Or wholesalers, or contractors, or somebody just looking to rent. If that's the case, we still close that out because they're not an acquisition lead, but they are still a lead. So we would close that out and then end up clicking one of these buttons right here. So push to cash buyer, push to wholesaler, contractor, or rent lead. So that goes into our other spaces to where we still can capture that lead, but it's not acquisition lead. Does that make sense?
Great. Yes,
cool.
I'm actually so glad that you guys have this already in the system, because I used to put all these notes manually.
Yeah, we try to make this system work or run our business. It's just up to the people that are running the system to do that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So the system runs our business, but you and the other employees run the system. So that's the goal. Anyways, this will show you our it just, did you see that notice that popped up? So we have 9 more minutes remaining on our time because I don't pay for Zoom, right? But that's no big deal because we'll run through this. It's not much longer. So we've got the push leads. Then we've got our lead source. This is important because you, as an acquisition manager, want to know where the lead came from. But not only that, what kind of campaign it was. Because this oftentimes will tell you sometimes their motivation or how they came to us. Like if it's a TV lead, it's probably a hotter lead than like an RVM, right? Or if it's a radio lead does really good for us. Or if it's a cold calling lead, actually, we hired this outsourcing company. It's cold calling way better than any other cold calling we've ever done. So the cold call leads currently are our hottest leads because they're already super pre-qualified. And if they're really hot, they'll live transfer this to our acquisition managers. But we did 5 contracts in cold calling last month with our first month with this company. So this cold calling company is good. But nevertheless, this shows you the lead source and the campaign. So that's important to kind of know, where it came from and how motivated they could or couldn't be. And then follow-up status. You can schedule your own follow-ups here, or you can click on the follow-ups. Call attempts. Every time you make an attempt in a per day, you can always send this, click on this after you call them. Like if you don't get a hold of them, then that'll automatically send them a text. We try not to do more than one of those in a day because we don't want to send texts and they'll think we're nuts, because they're very similar, but they are different. So we try not to do more than one of those in a day. We occasionally use drip campaigns, but not really on a lot of these leads that you guys are handling now since we have a follow-up specialist. So if there is a follow-up specialist that passes this off, their name would be here. This would be green. And then the property info, obviously. Address, all the particulars. Basic information. This is just kind of going over all the condition, how old things are and things like that. Now you can take notes over here. If you just type, it's going to have notes. But if you do SMS : it's going to send a text. But if you're just typing, it just has notes here. That way you can see all the previous activity and comments. But back over here again, this is where, like, after you gather all the information, then you kind of say, okay, I think the condition is pretty low, it's a low rehab. It just needs cosmetics, paint and flooring and things like that, right? Or it's kind of a mid-level rehab. It's got one major item, like a roof or something. Or maybe it's major, it's got 2 major items. Or it's a full gut. That's kind of how we evaluate overall these different 4, right? Low, mid, major, and full. And then we've got a dollars per square foot associated with that. So if it's a 1,200 square foot house, multiply it out. That gives you an idea of what you think the repairs would be, and you put that there. And then motivation, obviously, their selling time frame. But this is where, this used to be automated here, but Zillow took away the API that they used to give people. But what you can do is still, once you have the address, you can go start a new tab, type in the address and get the Zillow link to put it here. And you put the estimate right here. Once you have the Zestimate, for example, I'll show you. In this example, you put the Zestimate, it's going to give you the low and high range. So it's a $10,000 Zestimate. The low range is $3,900, high range is $5,900. So that's what I was saying. It gives you an idea. If they say, well, I need $7,000 for this house, then you know they're a little bit high. But at the same time, maybe you can get them down to in our range. So if it's a really, really bad condition house, obviously we need to be closer to our low range. But if it's in decent shape, maybe closer to the high range. And that's just a quick overview. Again, if they get really interested, obviously we want to deep dive into actual comps.
Okay.
So this is where you can put your miscellaneous notes. See, they already put this as spam, so we should close this out because there's a spam call. But this is where you can type in all kinds of notes. You'll see sometimes there's tons and tons of notes here, but you can also put them over here. So we always suggest, like, if you're just typing in notes, not on the phone with the seller, I oftentimes just use it over here. But if you're actually on the phone with them, it's better to do it over here because sometimes it's hard to, like, scroll up and down, like trying to find, oh, where's the roof? You know what I mean? So you can just be over here and type everything. And then you can go back later and scroll over here because it's independent of this, right?
Okay, great.
So if you look over here, like, oh, okay, the roof was 5 years old, so I'll put it here or whatever, you know what I mean? So you can scroll easier because these are independent of each other. That's why I say when you're actually getting information from the seller, put it over here. Makes it easier later.
Okay. What I usually do is I get all the information on a sticky note. Once I get all the information, including I ask the homeowners how much do you think it needs in repairs, you know.
Yep.
So once I get all the information, then I just type in my note all at once, and that's where you'll see it there. Is that okay?
Are you a pretty decent type?
Yes, I'm all right.
Yeah. Do you have a headset?
A headset?
Yeah, for calls?
I am using a
Yeah,
headset.
okay. So I would suggest never using a sticky note again. And here's why. You know, information is always better the first time you do it. And sticky notes get lost or, you know, you forget or whatever the case is. Like, we don't ever want paper in our business. 100% digital. So that's why I say it's easy just to be typing because you got your headset on. Just type everything over here, right, as you go. And you can just add anytime, you know, test or whatever. You're just adding this. So you can always go back later and you can refer to your notes here as opposed to working twice. You're writing it once and you're typing it again. That's redundant, right? So once all your notes are here, you can just go click on comments. It'll show all the notes that you've put right here. Then you can go back, oh, okay. It was a brick house. Yeah, I remember now. It was 5 years they updated the kitchen. Does that make sense? It's way easier this way. So definitely embrace the system, and that's why it's there. Make sense?
No problem.
Okay. And then motivation. Obviously, there's a bunch of different motivated reasons. And if there's something other than that, you can put the notes right there. And then when you scroll down a little further after the miscellaneous notes, here's that review button I was telling you about. So if you have a question on it or you want help underwriting it or whatever the situation is, click review. But make sure you have a note. Like if it just says review, what are we reviewing? Tell us what we're reviewing, right? So just leave us a note. And we always try to put dates. You know, like 5/17/21. Well, I messed the date up, but you get it. Please help with comping. You know, whatever you're needing help with, just type it in there.
Okay.
And then once you do that, then you click on review, and that automatically notifies me and Bridget. So one of us will get to that review, but you can just move on to the next lead until we get to the review. Once we get to it, we'll click on reviewed with our notes in there, and that'll send you an email to notify you that we reviewed it so you can check it out. Cool?
Okay, nice.
All right, we've got a minute left on the Zoom. So contract details are pretty simple. This is when you actually get the deal. The profile name is always Stewart Marketing. But either way, you just go through all of this, and once we have it all filled out, we can click the button to send the contract. We never, ever send a blind contract. We only send contracts if the seller's on the phone with you, because that will guarantee the signature. If you send it blind, meaning they're not even in front of their computer and they'll look at it later, you'll never get it back. 50-50 shot they'll ghost us. So this will also tell you the SMS history. So if you wanted to look at all the previous text messages, it's always down here as well. So anyways, I'm going to invite you to Podio so that you can start doing the onboarding process as far as on your own goes. And then you'll just click on this SOP right here. See the SOP?
Yes.
That's where everything is. So you'll go through that entire training. That should probably take you a couple of days. Definitely ask questions anytime you need anything. You can hit me up on Slack or whatever. But everything is right here, detailed out, exactly what to do. Cool? I just lost him because we ran out of time. So I just set up another Zoom to go over a few more things with him that we didn't really get to cover. Hopefully he'll join again soon because I emailed it to him. I'm thankful for Bridget because she typically will do this stuff. Hopefully he joins quickly, but hopefully I'll get some benefit from that. Just kind of showing what we do and how we do things. Hoping he'll join quickly, but yeah. And so next step for me is setting up his email because I don't invite people into my Podio unless they have our company email. So I'll set up his email to where he can set his email up and I can invite him into Podio. And then from there, he can start doing the SOPs and going through all those step by step on how we do things, how to run the system, the whole process. And also, what else was I going to do for him? Yeah, the email, the Podio, really email is the main thing is next. Because once he gets through the training, obviously we start doing one-on-ones. Plus, now all of our new acquisition managers have to go through and do actual calls on the dialer. So he'll actually do dialer calls after he does his SOPs and kind of learns how we do things. He'll get on the dialer for a couple of hours calling our long-term nurture leads to actually just give him practice on older leads and just to see how he can do it. Really, it's a test. We do a 4-week probationary period. We're just testing each other out. Sure, he's legally onboarded, with the documents and things like that. But at the same time, it's still a test run. Like, you got 4 weeks to prove yourself, basically. And, hopefully we see good things. Hopefully he's got a deal or definitely close to some deals by the end of that 4 weeks. So if that's the case, that's kind of the test, the sign. Plus, on our activity page, it kind of gives everybody an overview of where everyone's out. It shows how many texts you're sending every day, how many phone calls you're making. Do you have tasks every day? Are you setting up tasks so that you're reminded of different things to follow up with? Because this whole game is follow-up, y'all. If you're not following up, then you're not going to have a good business. You're not going to be successful, especially in acquisitions. But so really, it's if is he hitting his daily KPIs with the texting and calling? If he is, then that will in turn end up being success because he'll have deals, he'll have a lot of interested sellers, things like that. So really, after that first 4 weeks or so, we'll know pretty much if it's going to be success or not. And then, if not, it was a test run anyway, so no hard feelings. But if so, you're officially welcomed to the team and start rocking and rolling, So the goal in my business is every acquisition manager should get at least one contract per week. That doesn't mean we have to close on all those, but you have to get one contract per week, and it can't be, just junk just to hit your quota. It's got to be still in our range, it's got to be, a legit contract, obviously. But if you get one contract a month or a week, that's 4 in a month. And let's just say we even close just half of those, then you should be closing 2, in a month's period. But, honestly, a good rep working full-time hours should honestly get, probably 2 to 3 per week. If you're really doing your job and following up and going through the whole process all day, every day, with the amount of leads that we have coming in, and most of which are hot leads, there's no reason that you can't get 2 to 3 deals every single week. So that way, let's just say you get 2 every week, that's 8 in a month. And if we just close half of those, that's 4. But typically, our closing ratio is about 70 to 80%. So out of 8 of those, maybe we'll close 6, right? So obviously, you can see how an acquisition manager can make a lot of money if you're actually doing your job all day, every day. So that's where we're at on that. But and that's the thing too, follow-up is everything. If you're really doing the follow-up that you're supposed to do, you're going to have so many leads in your pipeline that are interested that it's pretty much impossible to fail. That's why I always say we have this system that literally runs our business, but the people have to run that system or it's not going to work. Just like he was talking about, I always take notes on sticky note, then I transfer it over later. Well, we've had people do that before. It doesn't work. Trust me. Been doing this long enough now that I know it doesn't work. You'll either forget to transfer part of it, or you can't read your own writing, or you completely lose a sticky note. Whatever the case is, it doesn't work. You just need to be typing as you speak to people. So if you have a headset, you should have free hands, and you have their information pulled up. You can definitely type as they're talking to you. You can go back in and fill in the blanks in Podio based on what you typed. So that's way more efficient. So yeah, doing the follow-up obviously, is key, because the different tasks will tell you when you need to respond to a customer. Maybe they asked you to call them back in a week. If they did, call them back in half of that time. That's what we do, because you got to keep in mind there's always other companies out there going after your exact same seller, right? So if they tell us to call back in a week, that's great. But in the meantime, they've talked to 30 other wholesalers or wholesaling companies within that week. So somebody might say the right thing that triggers them to do the deal. So if you wait the whole week, they might have already signed with someone else. That's why we typically cut that time in half. Might call them in 3 days instead of a week. And then if they say, oh, well, I told you to call me in a week. Well, my bad, I was just following up with you just to make sure nothing changed. I was thinking you said to call back in a few days. My apologies. Whatever. Just kind of play it off, like no big deal. And they typically don't even care. And they're like, oh, yeah, cool. So the goal is to stay top of mind. If you're top of mind to the seller, you're more likely to get the deal. And that's one of the reasons that I do every marketing channel, so that I'm omnipresent. They see me everywhere. Not only are we cold calling them, not only do they potentially get a direct mail piece from us, but they're also seeing me on TV. They heard me in the radio when they were driving to the grocery store, or they might have been searching Google and see me at the top of the list there. All those different things help us stay top of mind. So here he is coming back in. Hey, Will. Can you hear me? Will. Hey, Will.
Hey, Graylan, sorry about the delay. I signed the document, but I'm not sure if you got it or not.
Yeah, no problem. Let me see if I did or not. Yeah, looks like we got it back. So awesome. Thank you for that. So now the next step is I need to set up your email because I can't invite you into Podio until you have a company email. So I'll do that as soon as we get off of here, but there was just a couple more things that we didn't quite have time for. We almost got through it all, but I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen again with you. But a lot of this stuff, the next steps are kind of self-explanatory as far as like the SOPs. You just go through them in order, okay? And then there's a couple on there, they all have, let me just show you an example. They all have a description of what it is. So definitely read through it all. And there's also video explanations. Okay. Some of them have 2 or 3 videos, some of them have 1. But then there's sometimes there's even files attached. Like this shows the acquisition flow chart. This is, step 1. So definitely read through it all, watch the videos, and look for any attached files. Okay. But once you get through all those, definitely ask questions. Also, once you have the company email, I'll set you up with Slack as well. That way you can reach out that way instead of emailing. It's just easier to use Slack. So I'm writing this down. I'm going to set your email up, your Slack up, and then you can go through the SOPs. But also, once you finish all the SOPs, what we'll do is probably put you on a dialer. So when I say dialer, this isn't for cold calls, okay? You're never going to do real cold calls again, not with us, okay? But you are on the phone all day. Phone and text messages all day. That's how we have to communicate with sellers, right? So that's a given. But we have a dialer that will put you on, because there's a dialer built into our Podio, okay? To where just to kind of get your feet wet, like on these nurtured leads, long-term nurture, we'll have you calling on the dialer for maybe an hour or 2, just to get your feet wet. And these are warm leads, so these aren't cold calls. These are warm calls. So in most cases, they already have been contacted. Well, in every case, they've been contacted by somebody in our company, right? So it's more of a warm call. But the rare occasion that it's not, if it's a RVM, it could have been that one of those cases where they just called back and, to say, leave me alone type of deal. So there are rare occasions like that to where it's not necessarily warm, but most cases it's a warm call because it was a Facebook lead at one time, or a radio lead, or a TV. Because, the follow-up specialist really does the dialer in those long-term leads often. But eventually, we want you to learn the dialer so that you know how to use it, for one. But also, we want you to call on these older leads first to get your feet wet and just kind of to learn our process, right? And then eventually you'll have a couple of 100 leads your own, right? Like you'll end up having nurtured leads. Like Ashley has, almost 100 nurture leads that you could actually just get on the dialer with that. It's your own leads that you've spoken to, so that it's just easier to reach out to more of them. You know what I mean? So, anyways, that's one thing I forgot to mention. But so really, next step now, I'm gonna get your email set up like right away, so that I can invite you to Podio. So you'll have to set it up on your end once I set yours up, right? And then I'll invite you to Podio after that, and then I'll invite you to Slack, and then you're kind of off and running with SOPs. Make sense?
Okay. And I'll be getting a phone number as well with that, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep. Let me write that down too. Phone number. Because like I said, usually Bridget does all this, so I'm trying to remember everything we're supposed to do. But so I've got that written down. I'll get those 3 things done ASAP. Email first, so that you can get into Podio and start doing the SOPs.
Okay,
cool.
Sounds great.
All right, so just look for these emails coming shortly, so you can get all this going. Cool.
All right, then. Okay, thank you very much, Graylan, for giving me this chance. And I can only tell you, once I get familiar with the system, once I catch up with the system, you'll see what I'm capable of doing.
I'm looking forward to it, man. Yeah, that's what we need. We need good closers and people willing to do the job all day, every day. Because if you really do that, if you're willing to put in the work, there's no way you can fail.
Understood, of course. Cool. And as for the working hours, it's 9 to 5, or?
We'll talk about that a little bit, because we want to try to have people on opposite shifts. We want the phones to be covered from 8 to 8, Monday through Friday, and then Saturdays we want it covered kind of from like a 10 to 6 type of time period. So we're going to work on like a rotation type of schedule between all the acquisition managers.
Okay.
So hopefully you're flexible with that, but you'll have like a set schedule so that you won't have to guess on what you're doing. Does that make sense?
I'm flexible with that, no problem.
Cool. Okay. But yeah, in the meantime, we'll just say 9 to 5 is fine, and by Central Time, since our main market's Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Cool? All right, I'll get this set up for you. So look for your emails and we'll get going.
All right, thank you once again, Graylan. Thank you very much.
No problem. Talk to you soon, Will. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Bye. All right, guys. So there it is. You saw the whole onboarding from start to finish on that. So yeah, got to get his email set up, and we use Google for all of our emailing. So I just go to Google, to our Google account, and set up his email. Even though it's a company email, it's not at Google. It's at our company name.com. So that's how that's done. And then yeah, I got to set him up on Slack and get him a phone number, which we already have phone numbers from previous reps, so he'll end up getting one of those phone numbers. But yeah, our goal is to hire probably at least one more acquisition manager, if not two. But we're probably going to hire 3 because, like I said, that first 4 weeks is a testing period. So if we hire 3, we automatically know one of them's not going to work out. So we're going to be left with 2, right? And that's really what we need is 2 full-time acquisition managers. And maybe they all 3 work out, but we get rid of the weak link. This is business. That's just the way it is. So we'll keep the 2 closers, and maybe the other one is still valuable to where we put them in a follow-up specialist role, or maybe in a better seat that might fit them. Or maybe the test period is over and it's no hard feelings because they were never truly an employee anyways. It was just we were testing each other out for 4 weeks, right? But we're definitely going to hire 3 acquisitions, 1 more dispo, and 1 more transaction coordinator. Because like I've told you guys in a previous video, I think recently, that my goal is to be at 100 deals in escrow at all times. Because I think if we have 100 deals in escrow at all times, that means we could close 50 to 60 of those every single month. But, and able to handle that, we have to have more people. And, my transaction coordinator typically can handle 20 to 25 deals in escrow pretty easily. But she could probably even do more, because really they're only doing that. And that alone doesn't even take a full 8 hours. So if we had 2 TCs working all day, every day, they could definitely, in my opinion, handle, 80 to 100 in escrow. So, we'll see. Maybe it'll take 3. Nevertheless, we have to staff up to be able to ramp up and scale up. So that's the goal. We need to get to several $100,000 a month tomorrow. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's, $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 months are okay, but it's not where we want to be. And the only way to get there is to have good people in place, willing to do the job all day, every day. Because we definitely have the system, the processes, the marketing, all that's there. The good core team, but we need more, right? That's how we do it. So that's what we're doing. Anyways, hope this was beneficial. I know it's probably pretty long, but I'm sure if you watched it all, you definitely could get some nuggets from that to maybe where you can implement that in your own business. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you. Definitely give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share this content if you feel the need. It definitely will help me out with the algorithms if you subscribe though, at least. But otherwise, see you guys next time.